IVM.
Are you and your partner meant to be? Can you really look into our handwriting and tell us if he or she is the one? If we have a future together? People often ask me these questions. Are we meant to be? No! Graphology cannot predict your future. Yes, it is a study that talks about your personality, how you make your relationship decisions, and even how you behave in a relationship. But it cannot talk about your future. However, you can if you look at these 5 signs that I will be covering in today's relationship special episode. Welcome to Absolutely Right, the very first graphology based podcast show in India. I am your host, Aditi Surana. I am a graphologist and a high performance coach. In our Friday episodes, I take a topic, a commonly asked question, or even an area where most of us struggle and present some coach type result oriented solutions. Last week, I started a 5-part relationship series devoted to all the questions that I'm often asked when I meet people, especially couples, in a handwriting analysis session together. If you have any question that you think I can answer, please feel free to email me on write, which is WRITE, at aditisurana.com. In these 16 years of working as a graphologist, I have never met a single couple where one partner was happy and another partner was unhappy in a relationship. Either both of them were happy or both of them were unhappy. That one special person that you choose to spend your time or even life with becomes an inevitable part of who you are. From being a team, many people turn into becoming one, turn into this collective unit. It may sound very romantic as an idea of communion, oneness, or even a shared life. Do dil ik jaan, jeena marna tere sang, bas tum hi ho, meri zindagi bas tum hi ho. I can go on and on. We all have watched romantic movies, read enigmatic books, even heard love songs on loop to recognize this uncontrollable, palpable, absorbing emotion of love. But, yeah, you saw that coming. But this strong magnetic emotion that made you forget everything can also become paralyzing. Yes, you forgot everything until one day you realize how different your partner truly is in his or her ideology, belief system, life goals, and at times, even the sheer idea of love. My favorite relationship expert, Esther Perel, says the quality of your life ultimately depends on the quality of your relationships. So, the $1,000,000 question here is, how do I build a life with a person I love but do not necessarily understand? I do not agree with, or even in many ways, I do not respect. Unknowingly, when we talk about differences, we start labeling different as defected and many times even as despicable. Take a moment to ponder on this thought. Different as defected. You'll realize that 60 to 70% of your relationship conflicts are based on this simple one thought. Analyzing handwritings of a variety of couples stuck in their marriages or unions have taught me a lot. We all have heard this one line, right? Relationship needs adjustment and compromise. But no one tells us how much to adjust and how much to compromise. How to be in a marriage without divorcing yourself in the bargain. How to give it all without losing the plot. Undoubtedly, the lockdown has tested our patience, and we all have learned how tough it is to live with our so called loved ones. Some cracked the code and genuinely found their love for people around them, and some irrevocably scarred each other. No matter which category you belong to, the next 5 points will come handy to make strides forward in your relationship. As you listen to these 5 points, I have a small request to make. It will take some efforts, but I recommend that you pen down your thoughts on a piece of paper. It will take some efforts, but I highly recommend that you pen down your thoughts on a piece of paper. It will genuinely create way more clarity than you can imagine. Ask your partner to do the same. Point number 1. What does I love you mean to you? Yes, we all have different, varied, weird, evolving, or even conflicting ideas of love. People mean different things when they say, I love you. And people interpret different things when they hear, I love you. For some people, they treat it like a signal to run away from the situation. For others, they think, now I have arrived. Now I need not put in efforts in their relationship. Now, kind of, I've crack the code. Do you know what is your idea? Do you know what do you mean when you say I love you? What do you expect from someone when they cross over the bridge and enter your personal zone? You know, love looks simple and inviting, but this journey is precarious and mostly disappointing as most of us have no clue what we are chasing here. This chase of this divine idea turns into a consuming pursuit when we have no clarity of what we are looking at. Point number two, with or without you. If you've gone through a couple of breakups by now, then you know this. I can't live without you is absolutely not true. Devdas, Kabir Singh kind of narratives have glorified this thought of reducing to nobody without that special someone. But in real life, a healthy relationship is where two circles intersect without losing the grip of who they are. Graphologically speaking, people with overlapping signatures feel devastated to be without their partners. By overlap, I mean when the name is written on top of the surname, or other way around, or one letter overlaps all the letters in the signature. These writers are highly dependent on the others for their emotional well being. Point number three, रहना तू है जैसा तू. Stay the way you are. Acceptance and respect go hand in hand. We respect things that we like in the other person. But how about those things that we do not like or agree with or detest completely? Many people struggle to respect their spouses after a few months or years in that relationship, especially after seeing their partner at their worst or at the weakest moment, or even cursing other people, fighting aggressively. Last week, I said something interesting in the episode number 90. People date or fall in love with their partner's signatures, which means they are crafted, public, or social image. But they feel trapped as they have to live with their handwritings, which is their real, flawed, imperfect personality. We all want to change and alter other person's behavior to suit us. And when we see that it is not happening, people are not budging, and they continue to be who they are, what they think of themselves, we feel resentful. However, the irony is no one, and by that I mean no one likes to be in a relationship where they are not appreciated for being truly who they are. Point number four, the prisoner of opinion, judgment, and criticism. Esther Perez says anyone you would date or marry will come with some form of baggage. You cannot choose a relationship without one. If at all, if you can choose between baggage A or baggage B. With our love goggles on, when we look at people in the early part of our relationship, we see their flaws, but we do not pay attention to them. But when we relax and drop our facade, and when we feel now we can give our opinions, we start pushing these opinions on them. In no time, these opinions become judgments and then criticism. Another secret here, something that I learned from people. When people are sexually dissatisfied with one another, they'll end up using the outlet of opinion, judgment, and criticism to showcase their discontent. Subconsciously, they're trying to communicate something is going wrong and I'm not happy. But as they cannot talk about the issue openly, they use these ways to communicate. Point number five, who are you without this relationship? I know, that's a slightly tough one. I use an analogy of overflowing cup often in my sessions, especially when I'm talking to couples when they come for analysis together. Handwriting analysis gives a neutral, objective perspective to see things without any bias or assumption. When people talk about their real personality, we discover the gaps. Now, one of the things I found, many people do relationships like this. They become empty cups because they feel drained, low, or even exhausted in their personal professional lives. And then they go to their partners and expect their partner to do a quick refill by loving them, by validating them, by appreciating them. Every time they feel empty, emotionally, mentally, or in any other aspect of their life, they find the source of love. It works for some time, and you do the same. You pour into their cup when they need it. It feels beautiful, loving, nice initially, but in no time it turns against you as you start feeling unhappy without that dose. You become dependent, or if I may say addicted to your partner's love dose, and that is unhealthy. So what is a way out? Can you become an overflowing cup? Find a way to be the source of your own happiness, no matter what. Do whatever it takes to know who you are and how can you recharge your batteries without any other person's validation, appreciation, or, any kind of kind words. It is great to have people to share your love with, but empty cups are found stifled in expectations and disappointments. And I'm not exaggerating this. I've never seen people whose triggers of happiness are given in other people's hand being happy with themselves. When you learn to take charge of your own emotions, you start to enjoy these so called inevitable relationships of your life with more control. Now, how to do that? How to be an overflowing cup? Almost all Friday episodes on the Absolutely Right podcast are designed for you to fall in love with the most beautiful and significant person in your life. Yes, yourself. And go ahead and listen to these episodes and find out which issue is applicable for you and apply the solutions that I have mentioned. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Absolutely Right. Share this conversation with anyone you think who is struggling with their relationship, their interpersonal conflict. In the month of February, we are offering some special couple analysis sessions. Appointment slots will be available from 12th Feb onwards. Check it out. And yes, our next graphology masterclass batches will begin on 6th of Feb and 6th of March. If you wish to enter my fascinating world of handwriting analysis, then find all details on the website aditisurana.com. If you like this podcast, then don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on IVM Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Let's connect on Wednesday with one more guest and revealing his or her personality. Till then, happy writing!
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Storytel and The Whole Truth Foods. Thank you for supporting us. So a great bunch of episodes this week. First, let me tell you about The Note with Maruk Inayat. It was featuring Asaduddin Owaisi. She spoke to the AIMIM leader to understand what the Indian Muslim voter wants and how his party is any different from the BJP. On Advertising is Dead, Varun spoke with Malika Sadani. Malika is the founder and CEO of the Moms Company. They discussed the science of motherhood. On Naan Curry with Sadaf and Archit, Dhananjay Chuck of the Edges and Sledges podcast showed up, so we did another crossover, this time with food and cricket. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi talked to Gaurang Sangvi, head of digital business at DSP Mutual Fund. The episode has some logical and realistic advice, especially for millennials, on how to invest their money. Shunya One is back this week with Sheila Ditya and myself. We spoke to Anirudh Singla of Pepper Content this week. Really interesting conversation. Anirudh gave us some real deep insights into content creation and how they're thinking about different ways of creating it. Do check them out. Really fun show, really fun conversation. And with that, we hope to see you again next week.
Namaskar, dear friends. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi. Life, as you know, is a journey. And you and I, travelers, how can we celebrate this travel? I have a podcast for you, Begin the Journey. I share stories and moments from my life. Do tune in every Monday and Thursday to listen to my podcast on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from. Cheers.